Hi rockers, it's time for more videos, and apologies for not having put a video up in such a long time, and there will be more yoga sequences coming up. The next one that I have planned out is going to be a restorative one, so it's really important to me to have this video out on my channel first to be able to refer back to in the future, and for you to refer back to, because I will be using these yoga props. Before I introduce you to my selection of yoga props and sort of review them, I suppose, I would like to stress that you don't need to buy any of this. Don't buy stuff just because it says yoga. Don't buy stuff just it says essential yoga. Choose what you buy if you really feel you need it. Choose well, choose wisely, and leave a lot of that stuff that's offered currently in the yoga world. It's hugely commercialized, so choose wisely and leave all the stuff that you don't need just to one side. You don't need it for your yoga practice. Having said that, I have accumulated quite a lot of props over the years, and I'd like to introduce you to them. First prop I want to talk about is the yoga mat. Yes, the yoga mat is a prop, and just like with any other yoga prop, it can be left away, so consider practicing without a mat sometimes. You might find something very new about your yoga practice. You might find that you use different muscles to keep from sliding in downward facing dog, for example. My yoga mats, I have quite a few. This one is part of a bulk buy that I bought for a class, and it's decent. I'm not that fussed about yoga mats. If you buy a new one, I would recommend to look into biodegradable mats and non-toxic mats for your own practice, and yes, look around. Don't spend an absolute fortune on them, but maybe don't go for the very, very cheapest if you can, because of it being maybe a little bit more nature friendly if you buy it from a more ethical company. In terms of slidiness, one word about your yoga mat, your new yoga mat that might be very slidey and you're very disappointed. Give it a good try. Yoga mats usually get a little less slidey over time. And as I said before, sliding isn't the worst thing that can happen to you. If you practice carefully, you might find that you have to use muscles a little bit more efficiently when you keep sliding. Who knows? Next yoga prop I want to talk about are yoga blocks. I have a few different ones, different sizes. These are from Yoga Matters, who I will link in the description bar below, in the doobly-doo, and these ones were a present. I really, really like them, and I actually chose them because I was asked what kind of blocks I would want, and I requested these. I would probably, before buying more cork ones, look into if cork is a good material. I'm a bit more conscious about these things nowadays. In terms of, I've read somewhere, or I've heard somewhere that cork is quite rare, and I don't want to strip all those poor cork trees naked. So I'd probably look into that before buying another cork object. However, I do like this one. It's got nice round edges. It's quite lovely. Yoga blocks are very, very useful for a lot of postures. They're very versatile. You can bring the floor towards you in various different poses, especially if you're a bit stiff. Yoga blocks are great. And even, if the stiffness we're talking about is that you're that far away from the floor in the splits, then this could be your savior to actually stay a little bit in the pose. They're also useful to squeeze between your legs for certain poses like back bends, but we'll come to that when it comes up. Anyway, yoga blocks are probably one of the more versatile yoga props and are maybe a useful thing to buy if you practice a lot, and not just vinyasa yoga. In vinyasa, you kind of want to flow, you want to keep grabbing your blocks all the time, but in anything a little less fluid, and even I use props sometimes in my vinyasa practice, so up to you. Anyway, about Blocks, one more thing, you can replace them obviously with a big book, especially if it's for restorative postures and you're really just resting on them, or they're really just there to lift the floor to you. Any block shaped object will do that can carry some weight, so it doesn't have to be a specific yoga block, but I like mine nonetheless. Next prop that I know is very useful for lots of people, but I personally don't use it an awful lot, is a belt. Again, I've got a yoga belt here, and mine is from a company called Yoga Box, which was also a present. Most yogi belts have these D rings so that you can make a loop, which is very helpful for strapping it around your foot, or there are various uses, and again it will come up. Very helpful for when you've got tight hamstrings or tight back. Let's say in forward folds you can reach your feet. Can be replaced with a tight scarf, well, like a non-stretchy scarf, or a belt. Who would have thought you can replace a belt with a belt? It's for this wisdom that you watch me, right? Anyway, yoga belt. Next prop that I would like to show you is my absolute favorite and probably not super versatile, I would say that, but my yoga bolsters. I own 2 different yoga bolsters, not because I need really 2 at the same time, but because one of them always stays in my house and the other one I used to keep at a place where I taught private students. So yes, but now I have 2. This one is from Yoga Matters. This one I bought from RockTheMat. I love them both. As you can see, one is a bit longer, which is interesting if you're quite tall. You need to make sure you've got quite a long bolster. This one is also quite sturdy, whereas this one is filled with some kind of grain and is very heavy and kind of moves a little. Well, it doesn't move on its own, but you sink in a little bit, which for some poses I absolutely love. So I love them both. I'm glad I have them both. But if they're a bit more pricey, both of these were around £30, so you probably want to think about buying it, especially since I don't find them very, very versatile. However, for the poses that I do use them for, restorative restful poses, I wouldn't want to go without. I love bolsters. What could you replace them with? Just a really tightly filled pillow cover maybe would do, or if you do have blocks, you could simply put a blanket or a pillow across some blocks and make it a bolster shape and then rest on that. Alternatively, I've done that in class before, you just roll up 2 yoga mats and lie on that. That also works, why not? Next yoga prop that I would like to show you is eye pillow. So these ones are from Yoga Mad again, and these ones are scented with lavender, which I currently don't smell because of my cold, but it's usually really lovely. It's the weight on the eyes that's nice, and it's also obviously to keep the light out. If you practice in a light room or in daylight, then these are very, very nice. Might make your Shavasana a bit more restful, and especially if you're very fidgety in Shavasana, then you might want to think about this. If you practice a lot of restorative poses with your face up, you might like this, but again, not super versatile, so think about whether you need it or not. You can make these quite easily yourself, although I quite like, you can still do that yourself, but I like the fact that these ones are just like my bolsters actually. You can take the inside bit out and wash the outside bit, which if you use them a lot, and you should, is very useful. You want to wash your props sometimes. Yes. Speaking of washable things, I also have a little cushion. This size works very well for me. I tend to rest my face on it in yoga poses or sometimes sit on it in meditation. In terms of cushions and also blankets, to which we come in a moment. Pick something that you like. If you buy something new, then pick something where you like the color, where you like the texture. I love my little Home Sweet Home print here. It's not a print, it's stitched on, but anyway, I like it, so I picked one that I liked. And again, it's a pillowcase that I can wash separately, which is very useful. You wanna sometimes wash the props, right? Okie doke. Blankets, I already said it. Blankets bring the floor towards you a little less high maybe than blocks do. You can soften the floor with them, like underneath your kneecap when you kneel. Obviously in Shavasana they keep you warm and snuggly, super good. And lastly, if you work on jump throughs or the splits, they help you to slide along the floor, which you should always do with caution, but I have used blankets for that before as well. Again, I chose one that I like, and if you buy a new one, I'd recommend to do that, but don't go crazy. It doesn't have to be any kind of branded. Are there branded yoga blankets? I don't know. I don't know. This, yeah, I just had this. Anyway, love it. Okay. The last two props I think that I have here. One, I might be appropriating a little bit here, and I apologize if I offend anyone. Not very knowledgeable about Hinduism, but I do like my mala beads, and it's 108 beads on a string, and whenever I meditate according to a mantra, I put one bead for every time I repeat the mantra, and thus count towards 100. There's the 109th bead here at the end, which invites for contemplation at the end of your meditation. So not a fashion accessory, but actually usable. And I know it exists in other religions as well, as rosary in Christianity, but you don't have to use it in a religious way. You can have a mantra like let go, for example, and meditate on that. Of course, you can use it in your religion as well. If that's something you do, you can use it for prayer. But I like my mala beads. If that's something you practice, meditation, then think about it. How you could make them yourself. Find some beads, put them on a string, and meditate along it. Easy. The last prop that I was going to show you, don't really use it much, is this thing. I bought it in a sale, and that's usually not a good sign. You know, I bought it because it was on offer, and it's my little mat with sticky bits. I think you just lie on it, and it uses acupressure or acupuncture points on the back. I'm not using this. I still intend to do it a bit more. Apparently it's good for stress relief, and I might tell you about it if I have huge successes with this, but currently this is just sitting in the corner, and I just bought it because it was on sale, and caution with that. The last one that I wanted to show you is just a simple chair. I've got a little folded chair here that I bought from IKEA, and yeah, I don't use the chair an awful lot, but I have used it before with clients who were either very wobbly on their feet or had an injury or very stiff, so they can come in handy. You won't see it an awful lot here on this channel, but it can be a useful yoga prop. And that concludes my little yoga prop introduction. If you have any questions, please fire away, just ask in the description bar. And thank you for watching. Let's go and do some yoga, shall we? Don't forget to be awesome.